Hey you guys, it's Joey here and welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to be here today. I know I haven't posted in a while. I've just been so swamped with homeschool stuff and it's really been kicking me, and running my business really been kicking me, so I've been trying to squeeze these in, and I promise a lot is coming. I promise a lot more is coming. But yeah, so Halloween is right around the corner. First of all, anyone who knows me I love horror movies. I love true crime stuff like this. I love talking about it and bringing light to it. I don't know, I really like that stuff. And also I'm also really I'm also a real chocolate head. So yeah, but I'm really excited for Halloween. And a lot of people like Halloween mainly because they get to dress up as their favorite characters, or they like to get candy, or both. But also Halloween is supposed to be a time where kids can roam around and be their favorite characters, whether it's like an anime character or like a comedy character, a villain, hero, whatever it is. But also a lot of the times with Halloween comes something kind of dark. Like, I'm sure you guys remember the clown sightings that happened, I think a few years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was like 2 years ago that happened, and that was really scary and terrifying. It was really started to spread really big and got really big, and that was really terrifying and horrifying. But today, you guys, we're going to be talking about the real life Candyman. And this story really sends shivers down my spine because I really can't believe that someone would do something like that. You know, like, that really freaks me out and that really scares me. So we're here to talk about it, and so let's get on into today's video. Ronald Clark O'Bryan was born on October 19th, 1944, and lived with his wife Daynene, or Dan. It's spelled really weird. I think it's Daynene, so we'll just go with Daynene. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. But yeah, he lived with his wife Daynene and his two children, Timothy, who was born on April 5th, 1966, and his daughter Elizabeth, who was born in 1969. Now, they lived a relatively quiet life in Deer Park, Texas. And Ronald worked as an optician, and he was a deacon at his church, and he sang in the choir, and he also, I think, ran a local bus program. O'Bryan and a neighbor took all four of the children. The neighbor had 2 children with him. So yeah, all 4 of the children trick-or-treating in a neighborhood in Pasadena, Texas. They went house to house, back and forth collecting candy until they got to a house that the person that lived there didn't answer the door. So this is when the children, they got impatient, they didn't want to wait. They ran ahead, and so the neighbor followed after them. And that is when Ronald, he stayed behind. He returned to the group. O'Bryan, he had 5 pixie sticks. And he gave each to the children. And so they kind of carried on with the rest of their night. When they got back home, or on their way back home, Ronald recognized a kid from the church that they went to, and he gave one of the pixie sticks to the kid that he recognized from the church. When they got home, Timothy had asked if he could indulge in some of the candy that he had collected during the night, and his father had agreed. This is when Timothy, he had chosen the pixie sticks that his father had given him. He gave one to him, his sister Elizabeth, and the 2 neighbor children that they were with all together, and the kid from the church. And immediately Timothy started to feel weird, and he complained that the pixie stick was very bitter and it tasted really gross. And this is when Ronald ran to the kitchen to grab some Kool-Aid for Timothy to wash the Kool-Aid down with. Timothy started throwing up and convulsing, and Ronald stated that Timothy had went limp in his arms when he was throwing up, I think, or something like that. But and so 911 was called and Timothy was rushed to the emergency room. And while on the way to the emergency room, Timothy had passed away after an hour of eating the candy. Now, this sent a shock into the community and everyone that lived around them because Timothy had died from being poisoned by the candy, and this really sent everyone in the community into a frenzy, and this also sent everyone to bring back the candy to the police to check to see if it had been laced, because Timothy's was laced and he passed away. And this is when Timothy's autopsy came back, and when his autopsy came back, this really like changed everything, because when his autopsy came back, it was determined that Timothy had died from a fatal dose of potassium cyanide. All of the pixie sticks were found and recovered, but getting the last pixie stick was that one was kind of like a crazy and like a shock moment, and the parents were looking for the pixie stick and they could not find it, and that really scared the parents because they thought, oh my god, what if he ate the candy? So they went and they were searching all over for him, and they rushed upstairs and they found their child sleeping in his bed with the pixie stick next to him, but it was uneaten because the child couldn't get the staples off of the pixie sticks. It was tested and it was determined that all 5 of the pixie sticks that O'Brien had gotten were all laced with cyanide. This is when the police really started to look at Ronald specifically, because his story changed a lot. First, he had told the police that he didn't know where he had gotten the candy from, which house he had gotten the candy from, but it was said by someone that they only went, him and the neighbor and all the children only went to the houses on 2 streets because it was raining outside. The police had gotten even more suspicious when they found out that the houses that they had went to on those streets, that none of them were giving out pixie sticks. Now, O'Brien had then showed the group of policemen to the house that he had initially stated that they didn't answer the door. He said that they did answer the door, but they didn't turn on any lights or anything, and they just creaked the door open a little bit and handed him 5 pixie sticks. And he also described the man's arm as very hairy. Now, when the police did their investigation and really looked and searched and got down to it, it was proven that the man did have an alibi. He worked as a air traffic controller, I think it is, and over 200 people confirmed that he was indeed at work that night until 11 p.m. So it couldn't have been him who handed him 5 pixie sticks. As the police had continued to investigate, it was discovered that Ronald had over $100,000 in debt. His car was about to be taken from him, and right around the time he was arrested, he was accused of theft at his job and was about to be released from his illegal job in Texas. His car was about to be repossessed from him. He had defaulted many bank loans, and he had the family home foreclosed on. And it was also discovered by the police that Ronald had taken life insurance policies months before Timothy's death. Police also found that the morning after Timothy's death, Ronald had called the life insurance company. And also, the police found that a few days before Halloween, Ronald had visited a chemical supply store and asked about cyanide, but left without purchasing anything because the smallest he could get was 5 pounds. And now the police think that Ronald had laced all of the candy because he wanted to kill the children to get the life insurance money, but he only gave it to all of the children just to cover himself. And his wife, Daneen, said that she had absolutely no idea about any of this, what was going on. She was absolutely clueless. Ronald Clark O'Brien was soon arrested for the murder of his son on November 5th, 1974 and was charged with 1 count of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder, which he had pleaded not guilty to all 5 charges. Ronald's trial officially began on May 5th, 1975, and now a few people actually came out and testified against Ronald, saying that he was obsessed with cyanide. He had a chemist come out and say that back in 1973 that Ronald had contacted him and asked him about cyanide and how much it would take to kill someone. And even friends and family came out and testified against Ronald. His sister and brother-in-law came out and testified and said that after Timothy's funeral, Ronald had said that he was going to take the life insurance money and go on vacations and buy really nice things. On June 3rd, a jury found Ronald Clark O'Brien guilty on all 5 counts, 1 of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder, and had sentenced him to death. I think it was the first time a death penalty was going to take place, or it was like something like that. But anyways, shortly after, Deneen had divorced him, and her daughter Elizabeth moved on with their lives, started a brand new life, and later on Deneen remarried, and her new husband had also ended up adopting Elizabeth as well. Now, it was said by a former chaplain that Ronald had no friends at all, and he was shunned, and everyone despised him for killing a child. O'Brien's death penalty was actually moved 4 times until finally on March 31st, 1984, he was executed by lethal injection. And it was said that a lot of people came and people were cheering. There were a lot of people cheering, and there were also people who were against the anti-death penalty, and they were really just against it. A lot of people were screaming like trick or treat, like trick or treat, trick or treat, like, you know, just like taunting him. And also in his last statement, he said that he feels the death penalty is wrong, and he also maintained his innocence. He maintained his innocence, and he said that he feels that the death penalty is wrong, and that he forgives everyone that was involved or had anything to do with his death. You guys, that concludes today's video. That really, like, I don't even know, like, that's just so crazy. Like, you tried to kill, you didn't try, you killed your child because you wanted life insurance money because you were in debt. Okay, that really just blew my mind. That when I first heard it, I was like, that's ridiculous, like, that can't be true. I have to read into it more, because that's crazy. Like, how could you do something like that? Like, that really blew my mind. But if you would like to, all of my social medias will be down in the description box below. You can also go to my website and get your Law Fleece hoodie and more law apparel. My website will be down in the description box below. I thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know all your comments down in the description box below. What you think really happened, anything else that could have been done differently. Just leave all your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the very next video. Bye.